Guitar.
Dude, that's really nice. Yeah, Clockwork Zombie. That's really nice.
Yeah. You have like something like the
25 seconds. 25 seconds.
Everything off, and then let only the people that are buying.
All right, Metallicave live here Thursday evening, hanging out with our metal family on this cold, brisk evening in New Jersey. Wow, what a night it's going to be. We have Frank White here. We're talking about his behind the... what is it? Behind the... God damn it. I'm off the cunt. Where's my book?
It's right there.
God damn it. Oh, Career Through the Lens.
Listen, Jerry, I just got to interrupt.
Yeah.
It's not totally your fault because they actually, Frank, welcome back into the room, changed the title and the cover on him.
Yeah.
So you were not at fault
All right,
for
thank
that.
you. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. I saw the white copy. Yeah, all right. Well, anyway. I have the yellow copy here.
Yes, you do. The self cover.
Yeah, I bought it last month on Amazon, and it's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I find I brought it to work with me today.
Oh, wow.
I've been looking at it every night. Since
Other Dio fans at work?
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, lots of Dio fans. So they're like, oh, you got to bring this book in. You got to bring it in. I'm like, Jesus. If I bring the book in and then I forget it today while I leave work, I'm going to be pissed. So I let everybody see it this morning up until like around 10 o'clock, and then I put it back in my car. But we're going to have a good time today, man. And thank you for being here.
This
Thank
is
you.
great.
Tech is here. He's hanging out.
Always, bro.
Sean is here.
Hello.
The man representing...
bro.
Yes. This gentleman over here.
He can introduce me.
Dave Lisinski,
There we go.
Former
Skinsman.
Yes.
Former
Autumn
Hour.
Did you jam with All Time Low, too?
Yeah.
You jammed with All Time Low?
Yeah, funny. Crazy. We have only just begun. And what a way to start with brand new Creator.
Sneak
Are you
preview.
a fan of Creator?
Yes, of course. I've known
Awesome,
them for
man.
years.
That's so good. And their
Yeah.
stuff to me just gets better and better. Like the early stuff is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like they don't drop.
No.
You know, every album is fantastic,
No.
man.
No.
Is
And
Tommy still in Creator from Carter?
Guitar player. Went to play with them for a while.
I don't know if he was with them anymore.
I know. He's a great player, man.
Yeah, I love Corner. Oh. Mash Jackal was on MTV Headbangers Ball all the time.
I remember that video.
Right? That's what got me into it.
Remember the guy with the slick back blonde?
Yeah. So Frank White's here. We're going to talk to him a little bit later. But you guys are always welcome to chime in during every
funny,
break,
man.
you know, like we just did. Death Cactus in the house, working on some new material.
Hello.
Can't wait.
Yes.
Jay Stew in the house.
Yeah.
Jay
What's
Stew.
up, shit cunt fuckers?
There you go. That's his sign on. That's what he does. If you're wondering, Frank, yes, you can curse. If you want, you don't have to.
I just want to know who fucks a shitty cunt.
If you guys want to hear the inside nitty gritty about some awesome, well, first of all, the book's amazing.
Thank you.
Know, what I've heard, you have some amazing stories. So
Yeah.
we'll get one or two out,
Sure.
maybe 4 or 5. We'll
We'll
have
just
to.
keep you here for the next 19 hours.
Oh, man. That's a lot of talking.
Calendar's clear.
Yeah.
So in the chat room, real quick, hanging out in the chat is DJ Jeff. F just joined us. B is there. Cave Dweller, which is this computer right here. So if you want to join the chat, Cave Dwellers, just join the chat right there. Say hello. Mr. Terrence Alcott is in the chat room. Tomas is in the chat room. And everybody's just hanging out tonight. And plus everybody hanging out all over the world. Thank you so much for hanging out with the Metallicave and your metal family tonight on this Friday Eve. This is the beginning of the weekend, right? I hope you like that little selection of tunes right there. Some classic and some underground mixed in right there. Some Midnight, which is a really cool band. I never really heard of them. I get emails all the time. I said, all right, let me check it out. And to me, it's like a new Venom from when Venom was like Welcome to Hell and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But now, and it's funny because they wear black. Have you ever seen The Mentors?
I've hung out with them.
Yeah, well, they played Big Bets a couple years back. They have these black things over their faces, and that's how they play. Every member. The music is really cool. I got that classic vibe to it.
Yeah.
I think that's really good. Yeah.
He killed Kurt Cobain.
No.
I'm making a joke.
But he was killed
But
by
that was
Kurt
like-
Cobain's wife.
Yeah.
Well, it happens. I want to ask Frank a question about early on when you first started photographing before Dio.
Right.
Your mom got you into it, correct?
Yeah, she was a photographer in the 40s and 50s, and she worked for department stores in New York City as like the studio photographer. And, during the 60s, I noticed she had cameras in the house, and so I was asking her about them. And then she started teaching me, and I was going through her photographs that she had through the years, and I just liked the camera and take pictures.
Dude, tell your Zeppelin story when you were 12 years old. Greatest story ever.
Well, that's coming up.
Way to hook it, though. That's good. Now we're going to make people
Didn't mean
wait
to
for
make the segue
it. So
happen.
it's a Zeppelin story, so I'm looking
It'll
forward
segue to that.
Yeah, very cool.
Tell him about AC/DC
My bad.
and John Belushi. That story's great too.
We'll get into all that stuff if Frank is willing.
Sure.
But
No problem.
yeah, I'm sure. So we still have the 9 o'clock Metallica block where we do a toast to heavy metal and our heavy metal family, which is awesome, because it just makes everybody feel awesome together. Start thinking about what you're going to drink. I know what I'm going to drink. I got some vodka here. So we're going to pick a flavor. We're going to pick a flavor. I have some whiskey. If you want, you can do water as
my
well.
God,
Or whatever
look at
you
them
wanna
all.
do. Here on the Metallicave, craniumradio.com.
Too many stories. Tell them you heard them on the Metallicave Radio Show.
That's still my favorite album to this day. I can't, because I love all the old songs, but they just redid them all, Way back.
All right, Metallicave Live here, craniumradio.com right there with some Exodus off of their last album, except that right there was with Dukes and not Zetro.
Interesting cut.
Right. I'm not going to say that I don't prefer that one, because I do. I love the Dukes years with Exodus. It's just my preference.
Rob Dukes.
To each their own, right?
Yeah.
And he's a cool ass guy too.
Dukes.
Man. Always been good to me, and just a good person. He'll send me a message on a random Thursday and be like, "Hey, do you mind if I call in tonight?" And I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
What am I saying? No.
Of course.
He's been kind of busy doing stuff. He's got New Generation Kill working on and some other stuff. He did some stuff with Run DMC.
Yeah, well,
Nice.
that's what I'm saying.
I have a couple of tunes from that, but I won't play them tonight.
Yeah.
I have played them,
Understood.
But we're here to enjoy metal tonight and hanging out with our metal family and our metal friends. And we have a nice full house tonight. Cool people hanging at the bar.
Frank White!
Yeah!
But it's time for the shot heard around the world. So if you guys don't have any kind of a drink in your hands, I'm giving you 10 seconds to run to the bathroom to fill that Dixie cup up you use for your brushing teeth and all that other stuff. Because this is what we do every week. It's a toast to heavy metal and the heavy metal family, which is all over the world. Whether you're in a band or you're a fan, or you're a roadie or you're everything in between. Or you're a listener to The Cave or a cave dweller like you guys. It's all about the toast, and we do that together as a family for heavy metal. And me and Mike been listening to heavy metal since our early days in high school. We used to listen to Merciful Fate,
Halloween, Venom,
Slayer,
Death.
Oh my God, yeah, man, all those bands when they first came out.
Oh yeah.
Cool stuff right there. Some founders. Nice job there. Hey, I want to thank everybody for hanging out tonight. It really means the world to me that you're here hanging out with me on a Thursday evening, listening to wherever you're listening to all over the world. Thank you so much, and everybody in the chat room. So let's raise our glasses.
Metallicave!
This goes out to you guys, all the bands, the fans, the listeners, and everybody. And you guys all kick ass. And tonight, for Frank.
Thank you.
Frank.
Cheers, guys.
Frank.
Cheers.
Frank Rizzo.
Yeah.
Open your fucking ears,
Drink it up.
jackass.
Frank White.
Tastes like a Jolly Rancher.
It tastes like a Jolly Rancher.
That whiskey?
It was a green apple.
Oh.
Did a little different.
I was given whiskey.
So listen, if you know people that are really into Ronnie James Dio and the old metal and stuff like that, we are honored and privileged tonight to have Mr. Frank White here in studio.
Frank White.
Frank White.
Thank you.
Frank White. And we are going to talk to this gentleman about an amazing book that he's got out right now. The photographs in this book are absolutely awesome. I keep looking at it. Every time I look through, whether I'm just flipping through quickly or I'm looking at it, I always find something else,
That's right. I
Yeah.
like to keep everybody surprised and
Yeah.
wow,
It's
look at
great,
that.
man. Welcome to the show, Frank.
Thank you.
Let's give him a hand.
Frank White.
Give him a hand.
Frank White.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure, guys. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you here, man.
Thank you, man.
And the book is fantastic. Now, the reason I didn't mention the name of the book when I just introduced it is because you have two different names.
Yes, it was the publisher's idea. The first one is called, a Life and Vision, and then the next one is called A Career Through the Lens. And I didn't have anything to do with changing the cover. The publisher did. He decided to put a live photo and a different title without even letting me know about it. And I found out online.
That's nice.
Yeah, so I just had to go with it, and it seems to be doing really well right now.
How long was the first edition out before it got switched over?
The hardcover came out in December of 2018.
Okay, so a year.
And it was out for 10 months, and I was promoting it like it was going to be the cover of the softcover. And then when I went to Barnes & Noble and I found out that my book wasn't there, I contacted the publisher and said, "What's going on?" He goes, well, they said that they changed the cover and the title, and I'm like, "Well, why did you do that?" And they never gave me an answer why. So I just decided, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and just let's see how it does. I heard it's doing really well, and I'm getting a lot of great compliments for it.
Good, and you should, because
Thank
the
you.
photos are like, they're really like very candid. There's a lot of candid pictures behind the scenes.
Right.
It's not only concert pictures, it's behind the scenes, backstage.
Yes.
Studio shots too.
Right. Right.
It's a mix of everything. So if you like metal at all, you have to be a Ronnie James Dio fan.
Absolutely.
Because I think he is probably one of the best singers ever.
Yes.
Yeah.
In
Definitely.
rock and metal.
Regardless
That's-
of genre.
He impressed me so much, I was paying attention to him more than Richie Blackmore.
That's
When I
fantastic.
first saw them at the Beacon Theater on their first U.S. show at 1975.
What started you off? Like, what was your first show that you did live?
My first show was Led Zeppelin.
So you were what, like 5?
No, I started out around 5, 6 using my mom's camera, but I was 12 years old.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
12 years old at Madison Square Garden.
Right, and it was kind of a bizarre way of going to a concert, but after watching like shows like Ed Sullivan, Midnight Special, Soul Train in concert, I wanted to be at that place where I could watch the band live myself. After about 5 years of learning the camera, I decided to go to a concert, and I happened to hear on the radio that Led Zeppelin was playing in Madison Square Garden. And I had a little money at the time, paper boy, doing things around the house. And I was able to gather some money up, and I bought a roll of film, and got my mom's camera without her knowing about it.
Yeah.
Told her I was going up the street to a friend's house, and I ended up taking the bus at the corner and taking that to New York City. And I was 10 blocks away and walked down there and bought a ticket in the front part of the orchestra, and I was able to go inside and watch the show and take photos.
Jesus Christ, they're 12.
And Rainbow was like right after that, right?
What?
Rainbow was like...
Rainbow was in November of that year.
Wow.
Yeah, so between Zeppelin and Rainbow, I photographed Chicago, Alice Cooper,
That's so great.
Robin Trower.
Now, when you saw Zeppelin
Eagles.
at the Garden, where were you? I mean,
I was in the first section of the orchestra.
very cool,
Yeah, I
very cool.
found a single seat from the box office, and I guess, I was like, I couldn't believe where I was at, because like the last time I was there was for a circus. So right now I'm sitting now on the floor, and I'm within feet of the stage that is one of the greatest bands in the world is about to hit the stage. And so I was like nervous, I had my mom's camera. I'm like, I didn't want this to get messed up, because then she would know right away what happened. But I kind of kept it clean. I had some napkins in my pocket. When they came out, I was like blown away. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And then I just got up to the front of the, I was able to find like an empty seat before the people came to their seats, and started taking photos right then and there.
Dude, you look like somebody's lost kid. It's awesome.
Nobody thought twice about like you being there with the camera.
It was like, a mixed crowd, They had people that were young, and parents brought their kids with them, and some,
I love that.
I mean, it was Led Zeppelin, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was sold out.
Oh, yeah, it was, of course.
So for you to be up that close and get a ticket for that close,
Right.
to see Led Zeppelin as how old were you?
I was 12 years old.
I was 12. Oh my God.
He's 12.
God bless you, dude.
That has to be the first time you got high.
Well, I was smelling it throughout the arena. It was being passed. The joints were being passed around. That's for sure. But I didn't smoke that night. Just for contact high, because people around me were smoking.
Exactly.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
So
No smoke machines that night. It was just the haze. I think that's what kept Zeppelin going for all those years. They didn't smoke it. They never bought a blunt in their life. They just lived off the live show, and the smell.
The ocean.
Yeah, man. Sure. So not far after that, you went to see Rainbow.
Right, and it was their first U.S. show with Ronnie, and I simply loved his voice. And he was just, for his size, he was a giant, on stage, and they had the big rainbow over the stage and stuff, and it lit up throughout the concert. I was standing in front of Richie. I was taking a lot of photos of him, but I was like going back and forth, like it was a crazy time. I just loved it.
It's great to hear these stories. I mean, because there's people in the chat room that are like just blown away by hearing stuff like that and posting pictures in the chat room themselves of Ronnie. Because tonight it's the show is based around your book,
right?
Which is the Ronnie James Dio's photo. All these photos, and just it tells a story. Because when I got the book from Amazon, right from the start, you just look at each page and you try to read it in depth, the pictures, and they're just phenomenal, and they're raw.
Right.
They're raw pictures.
Yeah, nothing was really retouched on any of them.
Yeah. And you could tell they're just perfect.
Right. It's just
and you could see some.
My
of the
mom's
stuff.
teaching.
Yeah, I mean, and praise to her.
She was a studio photographer. Took wedding photos and family photos, kids photos, and just told me not to chop off anyone's head when I was photographing somebody.
I think that's important. That's important. So what did you say when you heard that Ronnie joined Sabbath?
I was really shocked because I didn't know when Black Sabbath would be coming back, and they come back with Ronnie. And it was crazy. I was like, this is
what a fit.
Yeah.
Right? What a fit. It was a perfect fit.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of bands, after their first singer leaves, it's just like, you don't want to say it's like all downhill from there, but it's pretty much all downhill from there.
Yeah. I mean, how many actually?
Right, exactly.
Replaced an original singer.
Exactly. Especially like Ozzy.
Yeah. There's just like,
And the Heaven and Hell record and Mob Rules record just are so amazing.
They are staples in the world of heavy metal.
Right. It's like
by far.
Neon Nights, Mob Rules.
So good.
Love them.
And you were there for pretty much everything.
Yeah, I was at the filming of the Black and Blue movie at Nassau Coliseum, but at that show I was sitting a little further back, and there were so many maniacs in front of me, trying to get on the camera that I just couldn't take any really good shots of them. I got some of Blue Oyster Cult, but I didn't want to put them in my Dio book,
Right. That's your next book of.
Well, yeah.
It's Dio and everything else.
Yes, right now I'm putting together photos for my own photography book.
Very cool.
From start to up to this point.
And you can tell you've been around with the shirt you're wearing tonight. He's got a Capitol Theater shirt.
Yes, I started going there like in the in the 70s.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you love Dio. He joined Sabbath.
Right.
How do you get to know him as a person? Like, how does that happen?
I had to go to a few other shows, and at that time, when I was shooting Ronnie and Rainbow, I wasn't working with any magazine at that point. So about another 6 years or so later, I ran into a guy who was a writer, and he ended up getting one of my photos in a newspaper in Secaucus. It was like the home news.
Yeah.
And then the following year, I was calling up magazines, and I ended up selling photos to Relics magazine. That was like the first major magazine I was with. And then I ran into a guy from Guitar World, and it was part of Harris Publications, so they had a few rock magazines, and then they gave me passes to the shows, which in turn led me to meet Ronnie in 1984 at the Brendan Byrne Arena.
Brendan Byrne Arena.
Yeah, in East Rutherford.
How many great concerts I've been through there.
Right.
And that pretty much started everything?
As far as, I guess, getting to know him a little bit better, and then after that, I would be going to shows pretty much every year that he came around.
In the book, there's so many pictures from the early days, with Sabbath and Rainbow.
Right,
it's fantastic.
Yeah, and
I love this show.
And when he played here, like on the Northeast, the United States, I was going to places like the Mid-Hudson Civic Center, and one of my favorite arenas to photograph in, besides the Garden. And so I was able to get backstage, and that's when I met Wendy. And then that led to going to other events. They had like a fan appreciation event at New Haven Coliseum, and I was able to go there and take do like a warm-up show with Ronnie with the fans.
So were you his pretty much photographer?
No, there was all other photographers, obviously, that photographed him through the years. I just happened to photograph him from when I was very young. and then followed his career right to the last show he did, which was in Atlantic City at the House of Blues.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I tried to capture as many shows as I could with all the different band members that he had through the years. And that's why I have such the way you see it in the book. It's from just gathering the right moments together. And it made for a really nice book.
It is fantastic.
Thank you.
Really is. You don't want to call it a coffee table book because it could be.
Yeah,
but coffee table.
I like coffee table books personally because it shows photography a lot bigger, and there's other books that have a lot of writing and then photos like in the middle of the book. I kind of like these kind of books because you're able to see the photos a lot bigger and you appreciate them more and you can kind of sink right into them.
No matter what band he was in, he was fan-freaking-tastic.
Yes, he was.
Just that voice, even till his last show when he played Atlantic City. Was phenomenal. It didn't change. And I would watch videos on YouTube, especially coming up to tonight. I was just watching these right now. Mind-blowing how his voice was so great.
It was.
Dude, David, I saw him, right? Radio City.
Like the right second to last or third to last show.
Yeah.
And it was and I just saw him. I said, through my life, I must have seen him, 13, 14 times.
Wow.
And did security on a couple of shows for him, too. Never saw him hit a bad note.
No, he's
one bad note.
No.
All those shows.
I've heard all of my heroes have some off nights, but he never had one.
Never. I can't think of one.
Here's a little story from the Radio City.
Oh.
I shot Ronnie in Heaven and Hell a month earlier in Vancouver, Canada. So I didn't think I was going to be photographing him a month later when he came to New York. And I got a call the day of the show from Metal Edge magazine. And they asked me, "Hey, Frank, can you shoot the Radio City music show for us?"
And you still living locally?
Yeah, I was living out in Oak Ridge, New Jersey. And I said, sure, I'd love to do it. So I went to the show, and I saw a bunch of my friends. They were saying, "Frank, didn't you just shoot another show?" I go, "Yeah, I was in Vancouver." I go, "I didn't think I was going to be here tonight. I found out about 2 hours ago." So I'm like, here I am. And then they were filming outside, DVD, and I found out that they were doing a DVD. And so I photographed the show, and while I was in the audience, I said, you know what? This is just a great place for me to take some stage shots. So I took a whole bunch of stage shots, and I turned to my left, and I see Wendy Dio sitting in the same row in the next section over. And then months later, I was asked for photos for that Dio cover because they were redesigning the inside. Wow. And they ended up using all my photos from that show for the entire product. And it was through Eagle Rock Entertainment.
How cool is that, man?
So I have that prominently sitting on my shelf at home.
I think if you're a metal fan, you need to have that DVD.
Dude, you can see Frank in it in the photo pit, but Frank hasn't seen it yet.
I haven't I've seen it, but I didn't. I guess maybe I just didn't see myself right away.
Dude.
I have to look at it again.
And that was a great show.
It's fantastic. I think that's. Oh my God, he doesn't do a bad show.
Yeah, and they liked the fact that I had the cameras in the shot for the cover. You could just see the swing cameras and stuff.
I saw one photo from your book. It stood out to me when I got it. It's a picture. It's a live shot. It might have been done after their last song, where you see someone's doing the horns in the crowd.
Oh yes,
picture right between.
Right.
The
well, I did that for a reason.
What a picture! Yeah. It's like the perfect picture for Ronnie James Dio.
I was at the PNC Bank Art Center. I just happened to have a seat, maybe like between 5 to 10 rows away, and I saw these guy had his hands up, and the guys were doing their bow, and I just figured, let's get a little artsy here, and I just happened to see all of them between the guys' arms. Fantastic. And I just snapped away and got a great shot of them, as they're doing like their bow.
Oh my God, it is probably one of my favorite pictures.
Oh, thank you.
The whole book.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I try to get a little artsy at times.
Yeah, that's cool because you're right. I mean, a lot of the other pictures are just like candid pictures from concerts and Bond stage.
Yeah.
That one stood out to me.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
I'd love to have that picture blown up and put right on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
I could do that for you.
That would be so cool.
Yep.
You got it, man.
You have to sign it for me.
I will. Definitely.
To me, I mean, it's a great picture, but without you signing it, it's
One of the guys listening to the show tonight, he's going to print the photo.
Absolutely awesome.
My friend Steve from Philadelphia.
Yeah, man.
He took the back cover photo.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, Steve Traeger.
Okay.
Very cool, man.
It's real, man. I gotta tell you, that going through the pictures of that, if you're like a Dio fan and you go through, just looking at the pictures,
right,
it really does take you from when you experienced
those
things, like the way he's dressed in like rainbow. Sabbath.
Yeah,
and this,
yeah.
and you have those moments like, you know, because I followed it all the way through. It's
Right.
like, it's kind of like you relive a little bit of like your life through those
It's-
pictures.
exactly.
It's really,
Exactly. Thank
really
you.
something, man.
So you've done the live stuff,
Right.
some of the behind the scenes stuff, but how did you get? I mean, there are a lot of pictures in this book of what looks like studio shots.
Right. I photographed him when he was at the Roseland Ballroom, and then when Rowan joined the band, it was like a press moment where there were a few other photographers there, and I was able to get shots. You know, him scooping around with Rowan, and they came out really well. So I figured let's put those in the book as well.
They're so good. I mean, you go from one end of the spectrum to the other with the pictures.
I just really enjoy what I do for a living, and so I try to put all of that in every shot I do.
You know, when I first got the book, slowly turn each page, you know,
Right.
and you're like, wow. And it's kind of like a timeline.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
But then I show these guys at work and who are huge Dio fans, you know, and
Right.
they were like, "Oh my god!" Like these pictures they have posters on. When they were younger, they had posters
Sure.
on the wall.
Me too.
And all this other stuff, you know.
And now my photos are now gracing people's walls.
Yeah, how crazy!
I
is
know.
that?
I've always wanted, as a kid growing up, when I was first taking pictures, said to myself, you know what? Someday my photos are going to be up on people's walls. And
Yeah,
sure enough,
and
it
sure
came
enough.
true.
Now, the photos in the book, are they available as single prints? Can you order?
Yeah,
them?
I have, usually like I start like at 11 by 14s and I go up from there.
11/14 is perfect.
Yeah, it's a good
You know?
size.
And they contact you on Facebook?
Yes,
And it's so good that you're part of Facebook now.
I know. It took
You know,
about
not a lot of
14 years
people
for
are
me to get on.
No. Now that your book is out, it's important.
The publisher, didn't mention to me that the book wasn't going to be in bookstores like Barnes & Noble, and so I have to join Facebook now to get the word out.
If you're a metal fan out there, I'm going to post the link in the chat room on I already posted it on the Metallicave Facebook page. I'll do that again tonight.
Right.
You need this book.
Right.
You know, you really do, because there's really not a lot of books out there like this.
Right.
You know, I've seen a couple books, but there's a lot of text and
Yeah, I kind of kept the text, I didn't want to go too overboard with it because the photos kind of help sell the book,
and they
more.
speak for themselves.
Right.
You know,
Right. So they kind of tell little stories, and so that's why I kind of kept it to a minimum, and then let the rest of the book flow with all different photos from different time periods.
Yeah, man.
Right up until his last show.
Yeah. How?
I know. I didn't think it was going to be his last show either.
Yeah,
I was like shooting it like it was, part of that tour, and a few months later, you hear about what's going on, and I was like shocked.
Yeah.
Blows
So-
your mind how good he was performing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time
Dude, he was
he
amazing up until the very end.
Yeah, like you
There's
just
no
can't
doubt.
believe that the guy was in pain or sick or whatever he was dealing with.
No.
And he just,
No,
that just speaks so much.
It really does, man. And yeah, the book is just
I appreciate that, man.
From beginning to end. Like I say, you always find new things to see when you're looking.
Right.
You're flipping through.
Exactly.
You know, like what the hell? You know, like I saw some pictures today, and I was just like, I don't remember seeing that picture. You know, and then the next page, I'm like,
Well,
holy shit!
well, I didn't like to have the photos out there for everyone to just share and use at their own will. I wanted to keep everything as like a surprise until it was in a book. And this was the best way to do it. That's why I didn't get on Facebook until after the book came out as a softcover, because I knew I would get a bigger impact by it being more of a surprise to everybody, seeing all these photos that no one's ever seen before. Or there's been a few of them in magazines over the
That's
years.
what I wanted to ask him. Like,
You know, but for the most part,
Some
none
of
of
the
them.
magazine shots are in this book too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's I think a few of them that were used before.
Or unpublished. Like,
Yeah, a majority of them are
that's great.
unpublished,
That's
definitely.
really
Yeah.
a big
Yeah.
part of it.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's-
I mean, because I have so many photos of them that, between me and the publisher picking out everything, there was a lot that no one had seen before.
It's
That
awesome.
must have been
Thank
a
you.
process, huh?
Yeah, well, usually it is, but this book happened to run only a couple months. Some books take years, but this only took a few months to put together.
Well, it's
Because I had everything down. I had a lot of memories built in my head from all these great times I had with them, and so I just started writing everything out, and we put it all together, and then it came out in December of 2018. But it came out as a hardcover with a presentation box, and there was 4 8x12 photos that you could hang on your wall.
that's cool.
Yeah. And that was a little bit more money, like $75.
Yeah, but
for
it's
it.
worth it.
Right.
You know, I
Exactly.
think that is cool for a collector that
Yes.
that loves Rainbow or Sabbath or Dio,
Right.
or all the above.
Yep.
That is what fans want.
Sure.
I'm a Metallica guy, so when they come out with a box set, I'm the first jackass on it.
Well, I have photos.
You know?
I have photos in the Metallica box set.
Do you really?
Yes, I do. From not Kill 'Em All. The one after that was
Ride the Lightning.
Ride the
That's
Lightning,
the only
and
box
then
that I got right now.
oh really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I sold photos to them for their box sets, and also in the Metallica book that came out.
Seriously.
Yeah, I have photos in that
Look at
too.
you.
Dude, I saw that show at Lemoore. Right,
Yes.
Lightning. That
I was
awesome.
yep,
cool,
I was
right?
there too
Oh,
for a
so
few
great.
nights
That is so
with Wasp and Armored
You
Saint.
did a lot
That's
of
right.
shooting, like a lot of shows there, right? You shot a lot of
Yes,
shows.
I was the house photographer
Right? Yeah, you were. You was that.
for like over
The
20
house
years.
photographer at Lemoore.
Yeah, I started there
That
in
is
I
awesome.
started there in 1982, photographing Blue Oyster Cult as Soft White Underbelly, and I was shooting Anvil back then,
But so many
Raven,
great bands went through
Y&T,
there.
right. And then a few years later, I was on stage with Slayer, and I photographed Kerry King on stage with the owner standing next to him, and that made the cover of Kick-Ass Monthly for the November 1985 issue.
Holy shit.
And I showed the cover in the magazine to the owner, and he loved it so much he gave me a VIP laminate.
That's how you do it, right?
And that'll
Picture of the owner.
and that allowed me to basically go into the show anytime. I didn't have to pay. I basically was getting their club in magazines, and I was able to go on stage, behind stage, wherever I wanted to go to photograph. And I was there up until the end, till
Fucking yeah,
2000s.
close the doors, yeah.
Where we see, like, looking through magazines and see,
Not
like,
for
guys and
nothing.
bands with the Lemoore shirt on all the time.
I can't wait for that book.
Yeah.
yeah, that book there was
Just when you figure yourself, you know, all these books, the book you did with Dio, and
sore
from Rainbow
subject.
to
Yeah, but
It's a
still,
subject.
it's got good stuff.
that was my first book, but that had a lot of problems because of somebody else working with me on it. And so I don't know what's going to happen to it in the future, but hopefully, you know, something will happen where we can bring it out.
if that happens,
Yeah, you'll know about it. I'll let you know.
Sure, I can't wait.
We should play your version of Rainbow in the Dark.
Oh, wow. You have that?
You know what? You know what we killed?
I got to tell you something. I'm having a great time tonight. Now, I have a great time every Thursday night here with my metal family, but tonight hanging out with Frank and just going over these pictures and the photos. It's hard to do photos on radio, but if you're in the chat room, I am posting pictures about what we're talking about. The picture with the hands up in the air went into the chat room. It's all about being interactive with the show. You can also go to Twitch and type in Metallicave, and you can see what's going on here in the cave and see the interview as it's happening. I think this is the first radio show that's video, interactive, live as it happens, audio, and in the chat room with the photos from the book. And it's a great time with Frank tonight.
Thank you.
Frank White.
Frank White! One more round of applause. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Now, we interview bands all the time, but once in a while you get gentlemen here like Frank that is just an amazing photographer.
Thank you.
And, I am ready for a deep, dirty fucking story. Plain and simple. And I'm sure you have a lot of them.
Sure, I do.
Doesn't mean he's gonna tell you.
No. So let's see. So, is there anything that is on the top of your mind right now that you would not mind sharing?
And it could be
This
could be nasty.
This
right?
wasn't.
Yeah.
This isn't about Dio. It's about AC/DC.
Okay, yeah. Throw it out there.
In the late '70s, while I was photographing and taking pictures and selling them in a store in Bergenfield called Collector's World, there was a booth that was empty next to me, and the guy walked in, saw my photos, and said to me, "Wow, these are really nice photos. You go to shows all the time." I go, "I do," and I go, "What do you do for a living?" He goes, "I sell tickets," and I'm like, "Do you work around here?" He goes, "Yeah, I'll be working here." I go, "Here in this store?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, I'll be right next to you. You couldn't have handed me anything better than having a ticket broker right next to me. So a guy that's going to shows every week. I couldn't believe it, that I was now having more than just my own ticket. I was having other tickets for other people. So I started to like sell tickets to my friends. I became like Damone from Ridgemont High. But that movie came out a few years later.
That's perfect.
And I was like, 15 at the time, and I was selling tickets, on the streets in New York City or in Jersey or Long Island when a show came up that I had tickets for, and I would always get like the best seats, and this went on for a number of years. One day I was down at the Palladium in New York City, and a friend of mine told me that AC/DC was staying on 57th Street in Manhattan. I decided to go up to the hotel where they were at, and I happened to get the house phone, and I asked for Angus Young. He goes, well, mate, we're going to be downstairs tomorrow under the atrium, and if you're in the lobby, if you want to come down and hang out with us. I'm like, that'd be great. So me and a friend of mine went to the hotel, and there they were. Brian Johnson, Angus Young, sitting at these little tables, having a cup of tea, and that comes later on. And I met Malcolm, I met Cliff. They asked me to sit down, and I go, can I take some photos of you guys? And they said, sure. And at the time, Brian Johnson just replaced Bon Scott, and he was wearing a Back in Black shirt. And it was like the right timing was just perfect.
That's perfect, yeah.
Yeah, and we had a awesome time, and they remembered us, and they invited us to the show at Madison Square Garden. After the show, they had a party, so Angus and Brian had us sitting with them at their table.
Sounds good to me.
And across from me and my friend Brian and Angus was Malcolm, Phil, and Cliff, and we were just like talking, telling them what a great time we had that night. And I looked to my right, and there is John Belushi.
Oh no!
He's sitting there with some girl, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy's sitting next to us, from like Animal House, to, Blues Brothers, Saturday Night Live. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm having such a great time tonight. So I asked the guy, I go to a seat, and I go, hey, John, can I get, a photo with you? And he goes, no, man, I'm not up to that, but I can sign something for you. So they had place cards on each one of the tables because at that time, For Those About to Rock just came out.
Oh, shit.
And he goes, I'll sign this for you. So he signed John Belushi on the back of the card, and I took it home, and it was too big for my scrapbook, so I just cut it down to size, and I have it in my scrapbook to this day. And
how cool is
and
that?
then he dies within a year later. I couldn't believe it, that I got so close to these people. And like up to a year before that, I was just photographing in the audience, and now I'm conversing and shaking hands with people that I would never think that would happen.
How cool is that?
Yeah, yes. I think about it from time to time, and I go like, I can't believe I did that. Called up somebody on a house phone, and the guy's talking to me, from a band that I admire so much, and the next day he was there like he said he would be, and we just had a great time with those guys.
You did something nobody would ever think would work.
Right. Yeah. And then after that, I ended up getting invited over to the Metallicave show. So,
how cool.
Yeah.
Can you say John Belushi didn't want his picture taken, right?
Yeah.
Because he was eating a lot of frosted donuts?
I didn't see any donuts around, but
I know nothing. A lot of frosted donuts.
But this is the Back in Black tour?
Yeah.
It was like right after Back in Black was, like they kind of stayed in New York during their tour.
So they were about to release.
So they would go like to Boston or certain towns and then come back to New York City and stay there and then go out to wherever they were going next.
I remember those records came out like really.
They did it
really fast.
a few times.
Yeah. But this is crazy. Like you just call them up and
that's
ask
so
for
cool.
them.
I mean, that's so cool. I mean, it's not only the Dio stuff,
and
plus the early years.
Yeah.
We're talking AC/DC, and how badass is that, man?
Yeah.
I mean, props to you.
Thank you, man.
Literally every show I've ever been to, this guy's in the photo pit. Every time.
Yeah, I just made it my choice to be there like as many times as I can to capture as much action as I could.
Wow. Here's a question. I mean, this is posed by someone that was in the chat room earlier.
Right.
You've done Dio, AC/DC, Sabbath, Rainbow. Do you still find yourself in shows that are newer for newer bands, or are you strictly with like the AC/DC?
No, I do a variety of newer and older bands.
What are your venues of choice? Like Starland, have you been there?
Of course. I've been there many times.
You know Jeff Crispy?
Yes, I do.
Right?
Yeah,
Great guy, right?
Yes.
Starland, great venue, Stone Pony.
Yep. I was
outside stage and inside stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I was outside for the when they had Guar play outside.
Oh my God.
That was a good one. I actually went to Guar's place where they called the Slave Pit down in Richmond, Virginia. I was doing an assignment, I think, for Thrasher magazine, and I ended up watching him. I photographed him do Skullhead Face, the video that was one of the earlier ones.
Is the dinosaur
and
real?
and they brought me.
I highly doubt it.
Everything was out of foam rubber.
What do they call that, cuttlefish?
You know, they had college kids come to their slave pit and help make these costumes for them. And some of them got involved with like the videos, you know. And they brought me upstairs and showed me all the costumes that they had up until that moment. And I was watching them how they got the blood working. And,
That's cool, man.
And I was able to take some shots for their video. And then I was able to get their comic books. They gave me all their comic books. They gave me a Gorgo doll. It was great. And I ended up staying up overnight over there and had a great time. And
have you ever done Kiss?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, I've done them many times over the years.
What tour? Like how many tours? Like which tours have you? Have you done their last stuff like MSG and stuff like that?
I did their show back. I think it was in March, and I thought that was their last gig at Madison Square Garden.
They don't ever have a last gig.
Right. They had.
No offense, Mike.
They had another one. They had another one after that at the Garden, and they're going to have their last one at the Garden.
Is it? Yeah.
Did you get them like early too? Like
back in the late '70s.
Yeah.
Really?
79.
You need to talk to Mike.
Oh, man.
Mike, this guy right here. Mike is one of the biggest Kiss fans I've ever. He has a pinball machine.
One of the weirdest moments of photographing Kiss was when they played as a three-piece for the first time at Studio 54 for the Elder record. And they did the song One.
Did they toured for that?
They might have they did some probably, but that year I just happened to photograph him when Ace didn't show up because he wasn't feeling good that day.
Yeah.
And so I photographed him as a three-piece.
That's great. That's great.
Right at the end,
like the end of
the disco era. You know, it was
so like Cher was there, like snort and blow and stuff, and like
what?
Cher was there, like snort and blow.
I don't know. I was just like
pleading the fifth. He's pleading the fifth.
I was like, like right up there, in the front, and I just shot whatever I could. And it was a cool time, but, it was just too bad that Ace wasn't there. But then a couple years later, I ended up photographing a lot of his shows. I went on this small little tour where me and my girlfriend at the time followed Ace's tour bus because they were playing with White Lion and YNT.
Was that Fairly's Comic Time?
Yeah. And we did a bunch of shows with them up in Massachusetts and in Connecticut and New York State.
I'm going to tell you right now. I can tell my friend Mike back there, he is so into you right now. no stories. Mike, this guy right here, he is the biggest Kiss fan I know.
Did you ever go to the Kiss conventions?
Oh my God!
I was the photographer of the earlier Kiss convention.
Oh really?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like looking at Frank and seeing like Kiss makeup on his face right now.
So Mike, you've been a fan of Kiss for how long now?
Probably since I was like 5 years old.
You never knew Frank was around? Because when Kiss came around, you were all about Kiss. Like, not a photographer or anything like this, right?
Right.
And now here's Frank.
And now here he is.
We're here about the book tonight, and I just happened to bring up, like, have you ever toured with and look at this, these stories.
He's probably got secret pictures of Kiss that no one has ever seen.
I'd love to see it. When's that book coming out?
I don't know, man. I got other books in mind that are going to be coming out before that.
Before that?
Yeah. So
he's going to give you his email.
We'll see
you guys do the email thing.
I did sell photos to Kiss magazine, magazines that did Kiss.
Sure. Yeah.
And also the book that came out called Take It Off on Kiss.
Okay.
It was all about the years after they took off the makeup until they put it back on. So I have photos in that book that just came out.
When they unmasked on MTV, That was during the Creatures of the Night album.
Right before Lick It Up. Right before.
So they decided to come out with 2 album covers, one with the makeup, and then the other one is different, right?
Right, without the makeup, yeah.
Yeah, he knows. I'm sure you know, but this guy, look, Frank, you're awesome. Mike is the authority on Kiss, right? So do you still have the pinball machine, Mike?
I do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Which one? The old one or the newer one?
The old one.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Have you seen the new one?
The new one, I've seen it. Yeah, I don't have it, but yeah. Yeah, so
how many times a week?
You want the original?
Yeah,
How many times a
original.
week do you watch Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park?
No, yeah, right.
That's awesome. It's pretty bad.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful. But it's a classic.
Star Child.
I was like waiting for weeks for it to come on. I know. Oh, that's not his voice.
Must be feeding time at the zoo.
He's
Of course.
Okay, you are the guy.
I'm sure Mike knows word for word the whole.
You are that guy.
Gene's brother's an only child. I can go on.
Oh no.
All right, well, great.
I'll spare you.
Yeah. But no, that's cool as hell. So you've done Kiss. You've done so many bands. AC/DC.
Rolling Stone, Grateful Dead,
Guns N' Roses,
many times.
Fantastic.
It's probably better off asking him who he hasn't.
Right,
yeah.
Probably a short list.
Is there
It's a short list.
Anybody that you haven't shot that you want to shoot?
From the time I started shooting?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few bands. You know, like...
Throw them out there, man.
I never photographed Slade. I never photographed The Crazy World of Arthur Brown. Let's see, who else? I never got to photograph. There's a few of them. I gotta think of my head.
Well, that's cool.
Because there's so many that I have photographed.
Yeah.
And,
Just Steve Ray Vaughan?
Yes, I did. I photographed him in the 80s over at the pier in New York City.
There's the pinball machine.
There it is. It's in the
Yeah,
chat
you
room.
got a picture
Is
of
that
it?
the one you have, Mike? That is your pinball machine.
Is that your actual pinball machine?
No,
that's
but that's the one you
That's
have.
the one I have, yeah. Yeah.
Wait,
All right.
That's it.
What did you say?
One of the other bands I never photographed was ZLP. I missed photographing them. I photographed them when Greg Lake toured on his own, and then later on when Keith Emerson did, and so forth. But I never photographed them together. That was one band I always wanted to photograph.
But you did EZO.
Yes, I did.
Right?
I had to photograph. Yes. ELO. Yes. Actually, ELO I saw, but I was too far away to photograph them. Okay. So I went to their show at least.
So
back in the late 70s.
You have no proof.
No, I have no proof.
What about ELP but with Cozy Powell?
No.
Sorry, I just had to throw that.
Come on here, you know.
No, but that's cool. So listen, I'm going to play 2 more songs. We'll come back, talk to Frank, and say our goodbyes. So let's continue with Dio on the Metallicave, CreatingRadio.com.
Oh, wait, who did you do this with?
This guy Sean Shred, who Kevin introduced me to.
Sean Shred.
Yeah.
His name's Sean Shred.
No, that's
awesome.
That's his guitar. Guitar name.
Shred.
Okay.
I don't know the one. I haven't heard this in forever.
Alan, what are we listening to?
Me singing a Dio song.
You did it justice.
No, you really did,
you,
man.
bro.
Holy shit.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
You are one of the best, bro. I don't care what you say. You are one of the best.
You did a great job.
Thank you, bro.
Awesome job.
Wow, this is a while ago.
Yeah.
I thought it was like Dan Dally.
No. It's the only thing I ever recorded with this guitar player.
This is really good. Yeah, this is like really good.
He's got the keyboard sound down.
Yeah.
I got a harmony here. Right?
Now streaming live.
You're tuned in to DJGD's Metallicave.
All right, Metallicave live here at CreatingRadio.com. I want to thank everybody who hung out tonight. Woo! Everybody, whether you're in the chat room, you're listening all over the world, or my friends here in the cave. Woo! Big shout out to Frank White tonight.
Frank White!
Woo! What a kick-ass interview, man.
Thank you.
It was really one of my favorites, man. Really one of my favorites. I'm looking forward to the next time you're here.
Oh, okay.
We won't talk about it, but I can't wait.
I will. Yeah, definitely.
You're always welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're not too far from where we are here tonight, right?
No, I'm not.
So you can show up whenever you want.
Sure.
I don't care if look, you don't even have to come out with anything. Just walk in the door and just have a water with us.
Okay.
Okay? Seriously, just come in and hang out
I
every
will.
Thursday
There should
night.
be a segment, Frank White's Rock Story. And he just comes
Oh,
in
we
his
can do
house
that. I mean, it's all good.
and
It's
say,
all
this
good.
one time Rod Stewart had his finger up my ass. And then,
Tell me.
No, that never happened.
I'm just saying.
Listen,
just a story.
listen.
I almost caught one of his soccer balls at one of his shows.
So that's what he calls it.
You said balls. Listen. Let's talk
Right,
about
you
that
gotta-
Rod Stewart right now. Listen, let's talk about Rod Stewart. It was a cold night, and it was the Brendan Byrne Arena.
That was the Garden.
You were the Garden. You were backstage. You were just a young 12-year-old. at the time.
No, I didn't see him till later on.
Oh, sorry. All right, I'm gonna stop. Let the music fit. I'm sorry.
It was only from the crowd.
No, I'm just messing with. That was cool. That sounded good. All right, so listen. Thank you, Frank, for being here tonight.
You're welcome.
That was absolutely awesome, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. What a
DJ.
great night it was, man.
For Obvious, man, and people really check this book out. It's killer.
The book
Thank
is
you.
awesome. I'm going to post a link in the chat room. Post a link on my page. Just you need to buy this book.
It's on
If you-
AmazonBooks.com.
Yeah, I bought the book a month ago. It is absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
Frank, you rule.
Thank you.
Mike Perry, you rule.
Thank you.
I love
Thank
it, man. Awesome. Check this
thanks for
out.
having
I
me.
love you all. CraniumRadio.com. Love you.